Hello. Today I will be featuring once more the Belfast, and this time in the latest patch 0.6.0, which has basically thrown out all the old builds, and there's plenty of new captain builds to configure, and this is probably the first build that I'm very satisfied with, which is my Belfast build. And the matchmaking isn't exactly the kindest. We're up against, well, I am alone up against T7, T8, T9, which means I'm the lowest tier. But luckily, the Belfast doesn't have too many issues punching up against higher tiers. I've said in the past that I consider the ship overpowered because I feel it has too many tools, especially when it comes to dealing with DDs. And honestly, my opinion hasn't really changed. I still think this ship is overpowered. It has too many advantages that it doesn't really need in order to be effective. Regardless, first thing you might notice is that I am not running RPF on the Belfast. And that's because, well, you have a concealment of 8.7 km, you have hydro, you have radar, and honestly, if with all of these tools you are unable, and of course you have smoke to add on, but I mean you don't really need that for the DDs, but with all of these tools, if you are incapable of killing DDs, hunting down and killing DDs, well, then you have bigger issues than anything else. So RPF, in my opinion, is a waste of points. RPF is a great tool for hunting down DDs and avoiding them in case you're a vulnerable DD, but you don't really need it on the Belfast because it's so exceptionally good at killing them already. So I completely skipped that perk. Instead, of course, I have one of my favorite cruiser perks, which is target priority. Lets you know how many people are aiming at you. It's a really good way of avoiding ambushes, battleships hiding behind islands suddenly aiming at you and things like that. It has pretty much uncounted tactical value, so I really love that as a first perk. I have Expert Marksman, of course, because the turret traverse is fairly slow on the Belfast and it gives a nice chunk of additional... well, it increases your damage basically when you have to switch targets quickly, and I enjoy that. I also run Adrenaline Rush, which of course... well, I already took some damage, so it kicks in from the get-go. It's active the entire game, of course. The more damage you take, the faster you reload, and everything is. This Benson somehow managed to eat the Atago torps. I saw an Atago turn and give full broadside, and whenever you see an Atago give full broadside, I instantly activated my Hydra, because that's a sign that they are going to torp my smoke. Somehow this Benson, however, was caught completely off guard by this. Regardless, I dodged the torps with ease, but not exactly the best start considering we only have 2 DDs and one of our Bensons already ate a full broadside Atago torpedo. Now, I also run Superintendent because it synergizes so well with the Belfast, since it gives you an additional Hydro, additional smoke, additional radar, all the things you love to have on your Belfast. And I run Demolition Expert to increase that fire chance, since you will be mainly focusing on HE with this build. I also run Concealment Expert. Well, once again, one of the great strengths is the stealth, and I in general just love concealment on ships because I feel it gives you so much more tactical versatility. And finally, of course, I run IFHE, which is Inertia Fuse for HE. It gives you 30% penetration at the cost of 3% fire chance, but because I run Demolition Expert, it's really only a 1% fire chance nerf, and that's something you can compensate for by running flags. So ultimately, you can make it, well, you can't really say that you're not losing anything because you're losing a lot of perk points and you're losing the effectiveness of the flags, but ultimately the new IFHE isn't as costly as it used to be. The old one I would never have pretty much used on any ship because I felt the cost, you were giving up too much fire chance to make it useful, but this new one I found to be very valuable on a lot of ships that use 150 to 155 millimeter guns, and that's of course the Belfast fits right into that bracket. IFHE of course increases your penetration of the HE shells, and while you still retain a fairly good fire chance, as you can see here. Pushing in once again, you see 2 ships targeting me, 3 ships targeting me, so I know it's a good time already to smoke up. In fact, I've been using that perk a lot to know when I really need to start smoking up or evading, or it gives you a lot of additional information for free, and I quite enjoy that, and I find it extremely useful. And Of course, the strength of IFHE is now that your HE damage is significantly enhanced against, well, a lot of targets, because it pushes you across a few thresholds that you otherwise couldn't reach. Instant smoke, I don't have Hydro yet, I don't have Radar either, I'm hoping for this New Orleans to come up. Shooting HE at him, at this point, honestly, it might already be worth switching to AP. One of the mistakes I'm already seeing from people playing this patch is that stubbornness to switch to AP. Because, well, they respect IFHE, they think they get so much value out of this new great HE that they refuse to even switch to the AP. And that's of course a weakness. Regardless of how good IFHE is, it's still never going to rival the sheer damage that AP does against broadsided targets. And I feel like a lot of people will have to relearn that, because I've had people shooting, I've been giving full broadsides and I have people shooting HE at me, and that's just because of the IFHE easily makes you tunnel vision and believe that you have the strongest version, or well, that you're doing the best damage that you can. Of course, DD smokes up, but this is one of the reasons Belfast is super silly. You can sit in the smoke and be completely undetected and still pop your radar and start wrecking the poor DD. I start reversing away, of course, because I don't want to, I am spotted. I was only being spotted by him though, so I feel like this is a good position to stay and maybe get some damage in. Some big issues with my team though. You might notice that my battleships are sailing across the east side of sea, and whenever you got battleships or any ships going on the east side of sea, well, you're probably in trouble, because going that way is exceptionally stupid. It's so hard to have any influence. You give up all map control, you're basically hiding there in the back, and well, it's kind of like hiding in the back sniping. You give up all influence. You see how suddenly that detected number went up? I know there's a lot of people who are aiming at me and they start popping up here behind the island. They've basically been sitting here waiting for someone to pop up, camping in the back. So I have to smoke up instantly. I would have done that regardless of the perk, of course, but it does give you the information that they've always just been sitting there waiting for someone to shoot at you. Now this is where, of course, adrenaline... what was it called? Adrenaline rage is starting to really kick in, because now I've lost more than half my HP, so I have gotten a more than 10% buff. In fact, at this point it's probably already something like 12%, so it's kind of like having the 3 million tier 9 upgrade on my ship, because basic firing training wouldn't even work on this ship because the caliber size is too big. So it's kind of like having the 9 million upgrade, tier 9 3 million upgrade, Jesus, I can't talk. It's kind of like having that upgrade on my ship now. So my DPM, of course, becomes quite insane at this point. And the more I've been using this adrenaline perk, the more I have been realizing just how valuable it can be, especially on ships that can be effective even while they lose HP. Now that's, of course, not all the ships. Many of them you have to play more safe when you lose HP, so you don't really get the same kind of value out of the adrenaline. But on a ship like this one, and I've also changed, I've already changed some of my builds from the commentary I made. In fact, on the Kutuzov, I used to use the reduced cooldowns one, Jack of all trades, and I've already changed that to adrenaline, because Kutuzov is another ship that can be highly effective while being low HP because of the smokes and the range. So I've already changed to using adrenaline on the Kutuzov, simply because of how much success I've had running this build on the Belfast. So now the Belfast is pretty much even more overpowered, because now I have the 3 million, well, the illusionary 3 million upgrade boosting me and boosting my damage. And of course now my HE penetration is even better, while I still have a good fire chance. So if I considered this ship overpowered in the past, this patch has greatly enhanced this ship. I mean, there's really no other way of putting it. This ship has made, this patch has made this ship stronger in pretty much every single way. I don't even care too much if people run. See, this is one of the issues, one of the reasons why I haven't even bothered with going too heavily on the fire defensive skills on battleships, because I feel like builds like this, the one I'm running now, are going to become more popular as people start to realize the value of doing pure raw HE damage over doing fire damage. Because in this game I will do significantly more HE damage than I will do fire damage, and that's going to start, well, if people learn it, the more people learn it, the more people are going to start using it on other ships. For example, the Kutuzov and the Atlanta and the Flint and all these fast spam HE spammers. And when they start learning the value of this, then of course the frequency of fires is going to be significantly less, and in general fires I already consider to be one of the smallest threats in the game, simply because it's 100% healable damage. You see, I'm detected, but I'm pushing up because I already know nothing is aiming at me. Now I know if something is aiming at me, and it's, well, it was briefly. See, as soon as those guys behind there in the smoke start aiming at me, I'll know it. I'm using the detected sign here to know if there's, because there's so many targets to keep track of. But ultimately I decide to smoke up because this Gneisenau now looks like he is about to die. Yep, there he goes. And the problem, of course, with Royal Navy smokes like this Belfast has is that you have to slow down plenty in advance to be able to use it. Oh, the Gneisenau survived. Let's see if I can finish him off. I still got a fire on him. So that's the thing, you still have fairly good fire chance, and it's especially on ships like this where you don't have to sacrifice too much fire chance while still gaining all the advantages of the HE penetration, where internal fuse is going to be so strong. And I'm still experimenting on multiple different builds where I can find it useful, but so far at least the Belfast and the Kutuzov and the Atlanta and the Flint, those are 4 fast spamming good fire chance ships that benefit hugely from this perk. Of course, there will be more testing to be done. Once again though, I switched to AP because the Scharnhorst is giving full broadside. Not even IFHE can compete with the sheer damage AP will do against broadsided target or broadsided targets. Oh, speak of the devil, Edinburgh. That's a tier 8 Royal Navy cruiser. In this case, of course, I will use AP because they are notoriously squishy, and he's close and he's giving broadside, so pretty much that ticks all the boxes. Lose vision, so I pop radar. Not exclusive just for DDs. In fact, the addition of the Royal Navy cruisers has just made the Belfast even stronger because it's given a whole new set of ships that this ship is strong against. So in the past you were just really strong against DDs, but with the Royal Navy cruisers being added, now you're really strong against them as well. You kind of counter ships like the Flint as well, and now with IFHE being added, well, now you're even stronger against battleships in my opinion than you were in the past. So a ship that I've considered overpowered has just gotten stronger, so that's a bit ridiculous in my opinion. But nothing is most likely going to change regarding the Belfast. It's still going to retain all of its strength. Well, at least I don't see. Well, it's a premium. It's never going to get nerfed. So congratulations to everyone who was smart enough to buy it. Apparently they're still selling it. So if you want a very extremely good premium ship, then the Belfast is certainly one. Especially now when you can earn Captain XP, Elite Captain XP. This ship becomes even better because you can level up other captains just by playing this ship. So congratulations on having your 90% win rate. Okay, well it's not quite that extreme, but this ship certainly I feel has a bit too many tools. I finally have run out of my smokes though, which is of course a huge problem. If you haven't noticed, I have a Gneisenau down in the south. I have no idea what he's doing, but he's making life very difficult for the team in general. The IFHE, he is aiming at me. Well, he's gotten me targeted, but he's not shooting me. He was turning his turrets towards me though. The problem now is that, well, I have no turrets. I have 6 minutes left in the game and we're at a cap disadvantage, so I kinda need to push into B. The problem is, how on earth am I going to achieve pushing into B when we have a Chapayev who's sitting on A3, and we have this Gneisenau who's sitting south back here. Now, hopefully this Gneisenau understands he needs to push into this IFHE and he needs to melt him, because I'm gonna struggle mightily to deal with him myself, because when I don't have any smokes, this becomes very hard. Note that my reload is 6.4 seconds now, so you can see the effects of adrenaline kicking in. Actually, let me check the reload the next time I fire. course, the lower I get, the stronger adrenaline becomes, and I've had some very interesting games. I had a game earlier on my gearing, on which I've also taken adrenaline, because it has multiple tools that greatly benefit from adrenaline, which is of course torpedoes and guns, and it also has great smokes, which means it's able to be highly effective even at low HP. So that's of course all the prerequisites for a perfect candidate for running adrenaline. So I've been running Adrenaline Rush. It's Adrenaline Rush, I think it was called, not Rage. I've been running that on gearing as well, and in a game I think I played yesterday on stream, I ate 2 torpedoes at the start of the game, 1 to the bow and 1 to the stern, and I was down to something like 1k HP. So I instantly had something like an 18% reload bonus to both my torpedoes and my guns. So my torps were reloading just as quickly as a Fletcher. I had something like 89-90 second reload on my torpedoes, and my guns were, well, it was like I was using the 3 million upgrade to reload guns faster, and then on top of that I still had some additional buffs. So my guns were like machine guns, and I still ended up doing something like 100k damage in that game, even though I was knocked down to 1k HP at the start. So on some ships, Adrenaline Rush is probably one of the best new perks, and considering it's a 2-point perk, it's something I feel a lot of people have been overlooking. There are ships where it's not as useful, but on the ships where you can run it, it has certainly showed its strength. Should have popped Hydra as soon as I saw the Luoyang. That was honestly a mistake from me. I saw the Luoyang. I did not expect him to have launched torpedoes that early, and that was my mistake. If I had popped Hydras right away, I should have been able to dodge those torps. The problem is that IFHE has dealt with the Chapayev, so while I'll be able to deal with him here without too many issues, it's still a full HP IFHE left. Now hopefully the other guy has burned his repair, so I have a chance of getting some fires on him, because he's gonna kill me now. There's nothing I can do about it. The only thing I can do is get some repairs on him, and hopefully the Gneisenau will be able to finish him. But, well, I did get a fire on him, which is good, because he can't repair it. The issue is, however, the Gneisenau for some reason has been dragging his feet and not really pushing up, and, well, he's hiding. And yeah, that's too late. The Chapayev somehow died, which is surprising considering he could have stealth fired the entire time, and this actually ended up being a defeat. So a 232k damage defeat in the Belfast, that's always a bit crushing. Almost 800k credits, of course it's a premium ship, and considering the matchmaking I was against, I'll definitively take it. 17 fires, considering I'm running a perk that reduces my fire chance, that's certainly very respectable. Looking at the base XP, well, the base XP tells the whole story. In fact, the only one who managed to beat me in base XP was the winner of the opposite team, which was also Belfast. Nothing overpowered here. Clearly I was totally wrong when I called the ship overpowered. Alright, but ultimately against T9 matchmaking, always feels good to top the scoreboard, even if it is in a ship that I consider a bit too strong. And looking at, of course, the detailed report, it gets pretty interesting. A 17-minute battle, and out of the damage caused, main battery did 180k of it, and of that 125k is HE, pure HE damage, and 55k is AP. In fact, fires only accounted for 50,000. With some better RNG, I could probably easily have gotten a Witherer here as well, but it does show you just how the way this damage is being distributed now when you run this perk, you get a significantly higher amount of pure HE damage, which is pretty much the whole idea of the build. And ultimately, this is a build I will probably be running at least on this ship, and most likely on the Kutuzov as well, because they are quite similar, except with the Kutuzov not being quite as strong, even though it's a very strong ship as well. Anyway, I will be featuring multiple new 0.6.0 builds on my channel, and since this is the first time I've featured Belfast in a long time, I'll actually add my build here at the end. Alright, the build itself, moving on to modules, not much to talk about. It's a premium. I run all premium consumables. You can run whichever you like. Honestly, you can probably afford it if you have the ship. Main armaments mod 1, AA guns mod 2, propulsion mod 1 because engine braking is the worst thing that can happen, rudder shift to get it down to that juicy 7.7 seconds, which is great, concealment system because for some reason you can run a tier 8 module or upgrade on the ship. Priority target, perk I use a lot, highly recommended as the first perk, letting you know which people are aiming at you, expert marksman and adrenaline rush as the tier 2 perks. Adrenaline Rush, as you saw, greatly enhances your DPS or DPM, whichever you want to call it. The same thing though, you get a lot more damage out of it, especially on this ship. Superintendent, additional hydro, radar smoke, fantastic. Demolition Expert, 2% chance to cause fires. It's been nerfed, it's still useful. Concealment Expert to get you down to the juicy 8.7. And finally, Inertia Fuse for HE shells, aka IFHE, which gives you that juicy solid HE damage. Priority in which sequence you take them is, well, I'm showing it right now. Concealment Expert is in my opinion the most important one to get early, then you can get Inertia Fuse, and then you can get HE chance, finally getting Adrenaline Rush as the last 18 and 19 points. It's fantastic, but I still don't think it's quite as valuable as the other ones because it is still situational. Anyway, that was my Belfast commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.